Good morning. My name is Holly Tangway. I'm a member of the congregation, and I have a few announcements for you this morning. Because of increased COVID cases locally, the board has voted that masks are required in the building unless you are seated and socially distanced. Obviously, you don't have to distance from members of your own household. For coffee hour, the weather's beautiful, we strongly encourage you to take your beverage outside and then take your mask off. All right. The Meeting House had an amazing Bach concert and wants you to know that if you were not able to make it, it is available on YouTube. You can find the link in the Friday email. And the first concert for the Meeting House, Music on Meeting House Green, will be on July 8th. Our congregational book discussion group has been postponed to June 22nd, so you still have plenty of time to get a copy of Anxious People and enjoy it. Also coming up this summer will be another round of garden sharing, which was a delightful thing we discovered during the pandemic, that we can visit one another's gardens and see one another and just have a lovely time. And we will let you know when those begin. If you would like to donate flowers for the church, please let the church office know. You can donate them in honor or in memory of someone if you wish. Also, you should look forward to a, Carl, masks are required, Carl. Can someone get Carl a mask, please? Okay. Right. Right. All right. There will be an email coming about a congregational response to the recent gun violence. We have a group that has been meeting to talk about nonviolence. And you will be getting an email with some suggested places to make donations. And if you think it would be a good idea for us all to make a donation to the same place, respond to that email and let us know that. Okay? Now, Kate is going to give us an update on socks and underwear.
Good morning. Closer? Yeah. How's that? Yeah. Good morning. I'm sure you've seen the neat little notice in your order of service. And whether we're happy or sad, it's drawing to an end. Just 4 days to go if you would like to make, an actual physical contribution. Rush out to one of the local stores and buy some socks and underwear. And the people in the stores will help you with that. If you would prefer to support the project, and we're happy for you to do this, with a monetary contribution, one or the other of us, the two of us, will be in the entry when you...
Just you, because I can't stay.
Oh, okay, then just me. I'll be there. And happy to speak with you if you'd like to give us a monetary donation, and then we will have the pleasure of going shopping and buying all those neat socks and underwear. Okay? Thank you very much.
That's all. I forgot that there's a special announcement.
It is indeed very special and my privilege to announce that for those of you who know Shannon Conley, she's been staying with me this year to finish her senior year at Gloucester High School, and she's graduating on June 12th. She's been accepted and plans to attend her first choice college of University of Connecticut at Hartford for music education. So I'm sure I'm speaking on her behalf and letting you know that she probably would appreciate any kind of acknowledgement cards or anything, because she put in a lot of work this year to get this job done, and it's my pleasure and pride to see her succeed. So, yay, Shannon.
And now let us deepen our hearts and minds for worship.
Well, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Unitarian Church of Gloucester. My name is Gail Seavey. I'm a new member of this congregation, having retired from the Unitarian Universalist ministry and come back home. I want to honor today that Gloucester is on the ancestral lands of the Pawtucket and other indigenous tribes that go back 10,000 years at least here. They are still here, some of them, and they will be here in the future with respect on their land. This congregation is forever new because even though it's only 245 years old, everyone who becomes engaged in it is committed to the ongoing search for truth and meaning and spiritual growth. If you would like to become more engaged with this congregation, you're invited to do so. You can just go on our website. Those of you out there, hi, in YouTube land, that's an easiest way to do it. And if you're right here in the actual building, there are yellow cards, right, in the pews. Are there? You can fill those out and put them in the offering plate. Now, my son, Ben, who grew up in the UU church as well, he was what they call a PK, a preacher's kid. So the fact that he's here today is a big deal because PKs often wander far, and he did indeed. But what I wanted to say was that we have designed this service together to help you with the spiritual practice that many of us practice of being fully present to your body. Now, some of you are used to a certain order of service. It's all been changed because of our goal. And if it seems out of whack to you, great, because it gives you a chance to practice being present when the world is out of whack. May it be so. And Holly, could you bring me back? These words are by Sean Neil Barron. May they call you into a deeper sense of worship. Your body is welcome here, all of it. Yes, even that part. And that part. The parts you love and the parts you don't. For in this place we come with all that we are, all that we have been, and all that we're going to be. Our bodies are constantly changing. Cells die, cells are reborn. Your body and all that is within it, all those little bacteria that help us digest, both wanted and not wanted, has a place here. Our bodies join in a web of co-creation, created and creating, constantly changing us. Scarred and tattooed, tense and relaxed, diseased and cured, unfamiliar and intimate, formed an infinite diversity of creation. Your body is welcome here, all of it. So take a moment to welcome yourself. Take a moment to feel that body. Take a moment to be aware that you are you. And now we will be joining in a song. It's number 1022 in the turquoise hymnal. Raise your hand if there's not a turquoise hymnal near you, and maybe Lucille can make sure you have one. I noticed that not everyone has one. And I invite you to stand in body or in spirit.
Say, this is an upbeat kind of song. We're not used to singing so fast. When you come to the verses, if you're not feeling the dive, just join in the chorus. That's fun and easy. We're struggling ourselves with the verses.
Oh,
thank you. Okay. At this time, we light the chalice, Holly, the symbol of our faith. If you are participating on YouTube, I know some of you like to light the chalice at home, and all of you are invited to recite our unison affirmation, which is found in the order of service. Join me. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Life is a gift to which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. And I'm asking Holly, yes, to also light the peace candle. We've been lighting that since Ukraine was invaded. And I know that when we light it, it also brings up for many of us different places of violent conflict in the world. This week, a lot of us were thinking about the ongoing gun violence, especially raised in our awareness here in Uvalde, Texas. But also, I've been following the protracted conflicts in Ethiopia and in Myanmar, Burma. And please hold in your thoughts any other conflicts that you have been holding and praying for peace. That's the kind of help I so appreciate. So I'm going to start again. Once upon a time, a long time ago, my name was Sherwood. That's my birth name. I had 6 brothers and sisters, and we were part of a band of merry people, children, because I grew up during the baby boom era. And in my neighborhood, my family was not the only large family. The place was really kind of lousy with children. And we all lived a very kind of by split life, inside and outside. We're totally different. Inside, whether it was home or church or school, there were a lot of rules. We had to obey them all, and all the adults watched us to make sure we did. But what was weird is as soon as we went outside, nobody cared what we did. We walked out the door, and as long as we were back in time for dinner, the world was ours. And in our neighborhood, there were no fences, not anywhere except around the 2 pools. And we all wandered freely. I don't remember ever anybody saying, "You can't trespass across my yard." Never. So we would go like in a horde down into the swamps and play Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. I know this dates me. And then we go to the big, there were these big clay gravel pits, and we would play the atomic Japanese monsters, Mothra and Rodan. Then we would go to the middle of my neighborhood, where there were trees. It was kind of a pine barrens, and we would play Robin Hood because we called it Sherwood Forest. It was our backyard was part of that. Now, I never got to be Robin Hood or Maid Marian because the most athletic kid in the neighborhood, whoever was there that day, got to be those 2. I actually looked almost exactly like the Friar Tuck that was in the TV show in the 50s, and was just as happy to be one of the band of merry people. But we also had always a village of poor people, and that was fun because it was like playing house camping outside. I always liked that. People didn't really want to be the rich people. They would much rather be the horse pulling the carriage which was very popular to do that. But we all knew we had no real story if we couldn't rob the rich and give to the poor villagers. So we all knew to take turns doing that, right? You know, my turn this day to be the rich person, the rich bishop, the rich lady and lord. But when I started thinking about it, nobody ever wanted to play the Sheriff of Nottingham. The Sheriff of Nottingham was really bad. And I'm quite sure none of us ever took that role. He just was always off somewhere in the jail. We didn't know him. So I actually grew up learning two completely different ethical systems. The inside system I learned was the rich are better than the poor are bad. And you had to obey all authority. Outside, I learned that the poor could be pretty good and the rich could be pretty bad, and that you could question all of authority. And I'm just delighted today that we have a guest singer today, Rihanna, and she's going to sing one of the traditional Robin Hood ballads that were very popular through the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries in England. So please, and try to listen for the words, see if you can figure out who gets robbed in this one.
Sorry, I unplugged the microphone.
To agree when he chanced to spy
thought we could take them off if we were in our seat. We can take them off when we're in our seat and we're social distanced. Yeah. Okay. I would like everyone to join in, if they would like, in our pastoral prayer today. It's number 501 in the back of the gray hymnal, and it's a unison reading. Spirit of community, in which we share and find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. And I invite you to say words of people who are on your heart today out loud, all at the same time for a moment.
Let's remember Linda Kidder.
Yeah, and Delia, and Karen.
Linda Kidder.
Okay, holding these names and all those that are unspoken in your heart. Let's continue the reading. We are part of a web of life that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. May it be so. Amen.
The first reading is from My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies, by Resmaa Menakem. In his book, Between the World and Me, Ta-Nehisi Coates exposed the long-standing and ongoing destruction of the black body in America. That destruction will continue until Americans of all cultures and colors learn to acknowledge the inherited trauma of white body supremacy embedded in all our bodies. We need to metabolize this trauma, work through it with our bodies, not just our thinking brains, and grow up out of it. Only in this way will we at last mend our bodies, our families, and the collective body of our nation. The process differs for black folks and white folks, but all of us need to heal, and with the right guidance, all of us can. If you're African American, you'll explore the trauma that is likely internalized and embedded in it. You will see how multiple forces, genes, history, culture, laws, and family have created a long bloodline of trauma in African American bodies. White body supremacy also harms people who do not have dark skin. If you're a white American, your body has probably inherited a different legacy of trauma that affects white bodies, and at times may rekindle old flight, flee, or freeze responses. This trauma goes back centuries, at least as far back as the Middle Ages, and has been passed down from one white body to another for dozens of generations. Years as a healer and trauma therapist have taught me that trauma isn't destiny. The body, not the thinking brain, is where we experience most of our pain, pleasure, and joy, and where we process most of what happens to us. It is also where we do most of our healing, including our emotional and psychological healing. And it is where we experience resilience and a sense of flow.
Well, at this time, our offering will be received. And I know I used to think the offering was just a time we collected money. But receiving the offering is actually a sacrament of the Free Church. And I need to tell you a story. When this congregation was newly gathered, they lived in a theocracy. All the towns in Massachusetts were Puritan theocracies, and you paid your taxes, it supported the Puritan church. When this church formed, they were considered dissenters. They were questioning the authority of the state church, and they refused to pay taxes to support it. The town of Gloucester wanted those taxes. They went into their homes and took their property in lieu of taxes. So the members of this congregation went to court. And finally, in 1786, the Court of Massachusetts, and now it was a nation, declared that they did not have to pay taxes to the first church, first parish in town, and that they could support the church of their choice. Of course, that later, just a few later, became much more common after the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution. But ever since then, we have been blessed by the ability to both give freely and receive freely of whatever you feel generous to give, and we feel gratitude to receive. May it be so, and we'll collect the offering now. Oh, I know. I give you these. Right.
As I walk through the night, I leave behind all that I am now, all that I am. As I walk with the light, I receive on high all that I am now, all that I am. With every step I am reborn in celebration, in celebration. With every step I am reborn from the core of creation, from the core of creation. With every step I am reborn as I embrace annihilation, as I embrace annihilation. Hey, 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 ho, ya. Hey, 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 ho. Hey, 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 ho, ya. Hey, 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 ho. Hey, 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 ho.
Our second reading is For the Growers and the Grocers by Susan Barba. On my walk around the reservoir, I was thinking it won't get any easier. But the ease in my body, as I thought this thought, on the first day of the last month of a long constricted year, breathing the sweet spice of the dead wet leaves and grasses, some standing, some matted in a circle, as if a deer had bedded down there overnight, thinking if we could see the rain as rain, knowing full well the science, the pain as pain, knowing full well the politics. I wanted to say that after they stopped trying to kill my grandfather, he grew up and became my grandfather. Two different people, outside and inside. Outside, he had the gift of beautiful neutrality. He wasn't stuck in some pathetic fallacy, but was rooted in the dirt, a gardener and a walker, attuned to weather. He forgot himself. Inside, he sat in his camel-colored recliner and inhabited a stronghold within the greater republic of organized forgetting. How he survived was fate, but how he lived was bifurcation, like his trees, his quince and peaches.
So I'm going to invite you into a moment in my life about 10 years ago. Outside, I had my band of merry people. I was on the board of Jobs for Justice of Middle Tennessee, and we were marching that year with all of the fast food workers and the service workers taking over the city of Nashville, chanting for $15 an hour and a union in a state that had no minimum wage, by the way, and they called it right to work, which meant no unions. But then I'm inside, I'm visiting my parents. My father shows me, he says, look, my cousins and I, we've got this genealogy we've been putting together of the Sherwood family. And I scan through it, and there's this Sherwood. Thomas Sherwood said, the Sheriff of Nottingham. I'm not related to Robin Hood. I'm related to the Sheriff of Nottingham. I was like devastated. Okay, so I had in my gut, now, so your body, devastation in my body was this knot, right there. Which I've been pretty much taught, you ignore stuff like that. You know, you put it down, you shut the windows of it, you put it down in the dungeon with a lot of walls, ignore it. But then I was talking to Ben, and Ben says, yeah, well, you know, Mom, you should have known that. He said the Sherwoods were soldiers for William the Conqueror, and when they conquered England, they were given holdings, as soldiers were. Now, no one owned land in those days. The land in England was common. People lived off the land, and maybe they'd been there for centuries, but they had no concept of owning it. So the first Sherwoods and all those other people, they held it for the king. It's like they didn't own it. But it was the beginning of what is called enclosure, which was a movement that sometimes was slow and sometimes fast in England for the next 800 years. And what enclosure was you had a holding, and you decided you wanted to make a bigger field or a bigger pasture for your animals. It was all agriculturally driven. They put up fences, lots of fences. And those big hedgerows that are so pretty now, but they were like big fences. And it pushed the common people off the commons until they had less and less land, which meant less resources. They had less to leave, so they became poor. They didn't have money anyway, but the resources, they became poor in resources, and they were pushed into what they call the wastelands and the forests, where it was harder to grow food. Now, when Thomas Sherwood came to the United States in 1635, it was at the end of a 200-year real push for enclosure. And it was during those years where so many people were pushed off their land that the Robin Hood ballads became very, very popular, because people were poor and they wanted that land. They wanted to rob from the rich and give to the poor. Whether they did or not, there were a lot of highwaymen in those days. There was a lot more theft, at least in all the songs. But there was also a rise of religious radicalism. And the names are very descriptive of all these people. The ranters, the seekers, the diggers, the levelers. And they meant it. They wanted to level society, or they wanted the diggers. They wanted to dig. They went on the common land, on the enclosed land, and dug up a garden in protest. The whole thing of enclosure became really one of the driving forces of religious radicalism at that time. The radicals would say, and these are all proto-universalists, by the way, just to make that connection. They would say, the earth is ours as a garden. It belongs to everyone. And it says right in the Bible, we have to share it, right? The established religion, first the Catholics, then the Church of England, and then the Puritans, said, no, that was before the fall, before we were kicked out of the garden, and we are all sinful. Private property is the best we can do as sinful creatures. And the radicals, pretty much to a person, argued back, no, private property is the sin that caused the fall. Okay. So here's my outside life in the garden, right? Sharing. Here's my inside life. Now, somewhere along here, because everybody who came into my office had to deal with trauma, one way or the other. So I learned about trauma. Then I realized I actually had trauma that I had to deal with. So I had learned, let's say 5 years ago, that I had to sit with this knot while I was remembering all of this history that, I learned when I was in seminary, decades ago. And as I sat with the knot, this image started coming to my mind. It was an image that I had been enclosed. My physical body had been fenced in, and I could feel it. Body armor. You know what that's like. You're tight, every muscle in your body, and you don't look out. You have blinders on, and your ears are kind of muffled. That's how I was taught to be as a child. Exactly that. And then I started to see that those fences weren't just on my surface, on my skin, they were inside. I had shut off my mind from my body. Huh? How many of us? Body, okay? I had shut off my spirit from my heart, my feelings from everything else. And I realized that over the years I had opened up more windows between, and what it made me feel as I opened those windows both inside and on my skin, more whole and more holy. This was not good for me. It was not good for my people. Being a wasp sucked. It did. It was just awful. So I kept with that, though. I still felt that thing in there. So it was like I had realized in those years that my emotions, we didn't even have words for emotions. When you were supposed to suck it up and smile, and nobody even talked about any other emotions. So that was in the deepest, darkest little, with fences and walls and all that, right? So I said, okay, this is one I haven't gotten to yet. I really need to see if I can bring the outside into this. Kept breathing in. I finally had another image. My parents loved me the way they were loved. through control. They did not know how to love except to control others. And as a child, we were so controlled that it was physically painful at times, and we were traumatized. But we did not know that. And then we became reactive. We pushed back against love. We didn't know how to love without control. And then as I'm doing that, it's like connecting up to my intellect, right? My brain up here, it's like, oh, this is all connected. I already knew this. I'm thinking, I learned about this. I studied feminist and womanist ethics at Harvard Divinity School. And what I learned was they talked about moral callousness, which was this. And they said, this is what white middle-class people in America do. They close themselves off, and they are callous to the rest of the world. And they talked about, I drew a picture of it. Thank God I drew a picture of it. I won't even remember. But then they talked about that people could become morally sensitive. You didn't have to, just because I was taught to be callous to the world, didn't mean I had to be. That I could open my eyes and my ears and take in not only the experiences of the world, but my own experiences. And I said, yeah, that's true. I have done that with my body in those 30 years since I learned this. I have seen, finally, the experiences of the world, the pain and the joy out there and in here, which I had never seen. And that moves you. It moves you. And what does motion do? It changes you. It's transformation. And you are able, therefore, to transform yourself from the inside out and be a much better ally, reaching out to transform this world, which is so fenced in. Now, for me, moving through this is taking a lifetime, and I keep wanting to say this is my last dungeon to unlock and let the wind, air outside in, but I know there'll be more, okay? But my son Ben is half my age, and he has been working on some of the same junk, and he does it in a much more embodied way than I ever knew how to do. So I'm going to ask him to share a similar story of transformation told in a very, very different way. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. I have traveled through the depths of my soul. I have lived 1 billion years as a demon king, taking and raping as I pleased, taking and raping from myself, till there's nothing left but a shell, a zombie king ruling smoke and ash. Yet here I am, yet here I am, shedding my tarred feathers of entitlement, shedding my tarred feathers of arrogance, shedding my tarred feathers of shame, with no one left to blame now, no one left to blame. Oh, I've traveled through the depths of my soul. I tried to hold the light that I couldn't hold. I let 1,000,000 moths into the flames as I went insane. Yet here I am, yet here I am, shedding my taught feathers of entitlement, shedding my taught feathers of arrogance, shedding my taught feathers of shame. With no one left to blame now, no one left to blame. I have traveled through the depths of my soul, and through my darkest creations to my birthplace of old. And I can tell you now, I ain't demon born, no how, I ain't demon born. I am born of life, free of sin. I am born to serve the good Lord within. And that's why I'm here now, shedding my taught feathers of entitlement, shedding my taught feathers of arrogance, shedding my taught feathers of shame. With no one left to blame now, no one left to blame. Oh. And now I travel through the depths of my soul, returning to the grace of my mother's home. I learned to hold my father's strength along the way, and that's why I'm here today, spreading my fine feathers of love and joy, spreading my fine feathers of peace and grace, spreading my fine feathers of harmony, setting myself free now, setting myself free, yeah. And now I travel through the depths of my soul, a king of what is given wherever I roam. For wherever I roam, I give back all that I receive. 'Cause here I am, yeah, here I am, spreading my fine feathers of love and joy, spreading my fine feathers of peace and grace, spreading my fine feathers of harmony, setting myself free now, setting myself free, yeah. And now I travel through the depths of my soul, only holding light that I know I can hold, leading by example the best that I can, watching our taught feathers fall so we can all stand, yeah, we can all stand, 'cause here we are now, here we are, spreading our fine feathers of love and joy, spreading our fine feathers of peace and grace, spreading our fine feathers of harmony. Setting ourselves free now, setting ourselves free, yeah. Setting ourselves free.
I invite you to breathe and pay attention to that breath as it goes into your body, fills your lungs, and as you breathe out, that breath is the spirit, and that breath can travel, visit every part of your body through its windows open wide. You might want to breathe into your head, to your arms, your chest, your pelvis, your legs, your feet. How does it feel? How does your body feel right now? Are there places where there are knots or pain or discomfort? Are there places that feel relaxed and open, at ease? Just pay attention. Be with it through a few moments of silence and then a few moments of music. And keep breathing. May it be so. Blessed be.
Hello, everyone. Okay, now we're gonna do a chant. Now, for those of you who don't know what chanting is all about, it's actually a powerful spiritual practice. The repetitive rhythm helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system, bringing the body into a state of healing and receiving. The words, the repetition of the words help focus the mind so that all other thoughts can drop away and bring stillness to the mind, and helps create new neural pathways in the brain, depending upon the words of the chant. So now this chant we'll be singing today came through as a tool to help support cyclical thinking in ourselves. In our culture, there's so much emphasis on linear thinking, starting at point A and ending at point B. And it's done, it's finite. Now, cyclical thinking embraces the infinite. Everything's constantly feeding back into itself. And nature very much reflects this, like in the seasons. Summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring. It never really ends. You can pick a beginning, you can pick an end, but that end is also the beginning of something, and that end is also the beginning of something. So yeah, that's what this chant is about. And I find it, the practical part of this cyclical thinking I find is that it really helps me find the gratitude for those lighter times, the loving times, because I know they're going to come to an end. And it also brings hope in the darker times, because I know that's also going to end. And it's so important, especially when we're doing this transformational work, because we're diving into some pretty dark times, and it's such an important reminder to know that there will be light. the day will rise again. The sun will rise again. So I'm gonna sing the chant first, just in of itself. It's small, it's short, and then we'll do a little call and response. The words are in your orders of service. It's the insert. It begins the way it ends is the title. No, we're doing the first one. It begins the way it ends. So it goes something like this. It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end. So let's start with the first line. It begins the way it ends. And it ends the way it lives. So live, and begin again. With new life and new end, new end. All right, now that was good. Now we're going to do it 2 lines at a time. All right? It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end. And begin again with new life and new end, new end. All right. So this chant, it's a little disorientating at first, just because we are stepping out of that linear thinking and going into cyclical thinking, and we're learning a new song, but we're just the repetition is what's gonna save us here, and what's gonna allow us to relax into it and feel it. And if you're really struggling with following along, just close your eyes and absorb what's happening and let it enter into your mind and follow along as best you can. And so we're just gonna start going. And yeah, please stand up. Standing is always beneficial for singing. Aligns your diaphragm. And if you get comfortable enough, I invite you to close your eyes while you're doing it too. That helps internalize the process. And yeah, ideally we'll probably do it like three times at least, maybe 4 if we're feeling it. Because the more you do it, the more you do a chant, the deeper you're able to go with it. But you know, we only have so much time. All right? It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end. It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end. It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, so live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end. It begins the way it ends, and it ends the way it lives. So live, so live, and begin again with new life and new end, new end, new end. Thank you.
Please join me in the unison reading of the extinguishing the chalice as Holly extinguishes it. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. This service is over. Let our service begin again, renewed. Amen.